3, 2, 1. Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nissy coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial today on the channel. So I wanted to talk about how I like to pick channel scripts. You know, I want to talk about how my mindset is approaching every single song, just in general when it comes to channel script selection. So let's not waste no time. If you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and drop some different video suggestions down below. I'm more than happy to get to it. So let's not waste no time. Let's talk about my mindset. I feel like a channel script is kind of like a new day. You know, some days you wear certain shoes that go with a certain outfit, and the next day you switch up your shirt and your pants. Now you're gonna wear a different type of shoes. And now I want to bring that type of, you know, mindset, that type of thinking, showing you guys how to choose your stuff so you could be perfectly capable of being good by yourself. Because that's the thing about my channel. I don't want you guys to depend on me forever. I want you guys to actually become raw at some point. So maybe y'all could work with me, or one of y'all could, you know, start to teach me stuff too. That's just how life is supposed to work. You teach me, I teach you. So let me give you these gems so we could get right to it. Let's listen to the music real fast though.
Yeah, know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around. Know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't have a lot of dough, but I had a lot of doubt. One thing about this accounts, you can never count.
All right, so let's get to listening to this. So usually, actually, I'll be brutally honest. When I do most of my you know, channel scripts in the beginning, I usually use the Waves channel script, but I'm gonna talk about the straight up UAD ones today, because the UAD has a couple more features that the Waves doesn't. I only put the Waves in my template just so when I'm actually recording, I know I have, like, you know, the basic thing that is gonna sound okay and clean. You know, I'm not fully committing to a sound yet when I'm in my DAW, so I usually keep the Waves one in my template. But by the time I actually get the vocals fully recorded and all that shit, you know, I always do my basic processing in the beginning. Some people like to use the channel strip in the beginning, but me personally, when I go to my channel strip, I'm looking for tone. You know, those analog components. Sometimes you open up a channel strip and right away it's giving you some of that circuitry. It's giving you a little bit of that sauce, a little bit of that juice. You know, it's kind of already putting you in a good position to having it sound good. So we're gonna look at 3 channel strips today. The very first one being the API. So I wanted to talk about something that's pretty important when it comes to picking the channel strip for me in general, is understanding the high pass, the filtering section. The filtering section is very, very extremely important for me, right? So understanding the dB octave. So different channel strips have a different slope. So you see this type of like a filter, right? The way the filter is, I kind of see this in like a tonal way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna show you guys really quickly too, but just changing the dB octave of a slope can make a vocal sound more aggressive or a little bit more loose and everything like that. And also the front to back positioning. Because when you have a situation where the slope is more moderate, right, it lets more of that muck, more of those lower things still come into the equation, which is cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes, depending on what sound you're going for. But you have other channel strips that might have a dB octave of 12, or even like the SSL that has a dB octave of 18, that gives a little bit more aggression inside of the lower spectrum. So let's look at this really quickly, understanding the dB octave. You know, so with you know, more aggressive dB octaves, you're kind of catching more of the stuff. But with looser dB octaves, they're kind of like a lazy ass kid. You tell him to do some shit and he still ain't heard you. I told you to roll off some of that low, but you ain't even roll off all of it. You know, it's a situation like that. But the 18 is a little bit more moderate. But if you were to get all the way up to 24, it's like a stickler, so aggressive, like, okay, I'm gonna cut off all of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's just listen to like kind of how this subtly changes a little bit just on a stock EQ.
Hey, yeah, know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around. Know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't I had a lot of doubt. One thing about this accounts,
So as you can pay attention, it's kind of like, what personality do you want to apply to the filter? Do you want the filter to be a greedy son of a bitch and try to take everything, or do you want it to be loose and kind of generous and still let, still take what it need to take out so it can still, shape the low end of the vocal, but in a way where it's still generous. It's still letting stuff, slide through and all that stuff like that, So that's something important to understand. All right, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about to start off. So look, on an API Vision, you got to understand that this one is a 12 dB octave. This one right here on the preamp, sometimes the preamp sections, they'll actually have low cut as well. This low cut right here is a 6 dB octave. So you can use these together to like kind of shape the tone of your low end on something like this. I usually like to use the mic pre. Some people like to use it when tracking, but me personally, I like to use a stock default mic pre when I'm recording on the way in, because I can always change it after the fact. But then some people like to commit. But I always see in a situation where it's like cooking. Like if you don't know how to cook, you need to go to the supermarket and buy that pre-seasoned chicken, because your ass don't know how to cook. But if you do know how to cook, all you need to do is buy the raw chicken and then afterwards apply the seasoning and the flavor you want. So, if you're starting out, maybe you do want to use a preamp like an API Vision or the Neve, just get it sounding good right away, because you still learning how to cook and all that stuff like that. But me personally, I like to go in stock and make my decision when I'm hearing all the music all together, what type of tone I want. So pretty much the preamp section, I like to use this too as an effect sometimes, like as a way to get my Tory Lanez reverb. So I might put it on like a reverb, right? And just only use this mic pre and distort it and lower down the output right here, and it will start making the whole sound buzz. So that's something that the API preamp is known very well for, just giving a lot of bit of that aggression, that grit. It reminds me of mainstream rap music. So when we think of channel strips, we think of an old workflow, but you have something like the API Vision and also as well as the Neve 88rs, we're gonna look at that, which are more like modern channel strips, like those came out in the 90s, so they sound a little bit more clear. They're not giving you that throwback sound. You don't always want that throwback sound. Sometimes if you mix in a modern trap song, you want your shit to sound brand new. You feel me? You don't always want that old throwback. You feel me? '08, big shirts, big pants, big cap on type of sound. You don't want that throwback sound. Sometimes you want that brand new sound. You want your shit to sound brand new and fresh. Okay, cool. So let's look at this real quick. Just going back and forth between the filters as well as kind of playing around with the preamp, how distorted it could get if you push it too hard. Like what is it really giving you?
bounce, told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around, know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't have a lot of dough, but
So I like to use these two tools together. It's like I'm a painter and I'm trying to hit a certain spot on the canvas. I like to use the this type of filter to really like kind of like fine tune it. But then I like to use the 6 too. The 6 is kind of like a big brush. The stroke for the low end is a little bit more broader. Okay, cool. So with the API Vision, the gate as well. Nothing crazy about the gate, but I do like the way the gate sounds though. Honestly, you get to verify, you get a variable release and all that stuff. And usually with me, gate is more about tone. On an SSL, you don't get the opportunity to mess with the attack of the gate. It's kind of like automatic. But I like the gate in a situation as in like a tone. Like if I have a rapper that's rapping like da-da-da-da-da, pause, da-da-da-da-da, pause, da-da-da. Like sometimes I like to use the gate to just snip off just a little bit of the end of his words to get some more tone, some more impact. You feel me? So that's cool.
Town, rocking all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Taking trips way out of town. Rocking all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around, know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't have a lot.
So I like to use it. You see how when he was like, word of mouth? flip a pound. So if I hear a rapper start doing that, I like to use something like a gate to enhance that part, because now it really sounds like a door is opening and closing. You know what I mean? A door don't sound the same way when you just open it and close it slowly as when you slam that bit. So it's kind of like you can't really hear, but it's more like a tonal thing. That's kind of how I see the gate, sense of urgency. I usually don't like using the the compressor part of the API vision, but oh well, it is what it is. You know, it gives you a couple of dope features. You get to adjust the knee, which you don't get to adjust it on other channel strips. So these are kind of like the advantages of using something like this. Then you have the detection circuit, which is the new feedback motor, the old feedback. So the new one has a way of sounding a little bit more modern. You know, it's the kind of like the look ahead. It's a little bit more responsive, and the old is kind of a little bit more rich and creamy. So that's kind of how I see it too. But it does affect the action of the compressor. Last thing, the 560L, which to me it was like Fab Filter before Fab Filter. I really like to use something like this over doing something like a frequency sweep, because these EQ curves are more musical. They are way more musical than like you doing like a Fab Filter EQ sweep. You can use something like this to boost and cut and notch and all that stuff like that, and it will sound way, way, way more musical. It won't sound hollow because of the way that this EQ is pretty much made.
Don't know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town. Rockin' all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember
So yeah, API, absolutely incredible channel strip, and you get two types of EQs, the 550 and the 560. All right, so we're still gonna keep that here, but we're gonna come back to it. Next thing is the Neve 88rs. Now you gotta understand, with the Neve 88rs, that's a channel strip that Adele used on like Rolling in the Deep. Tom Elhurst, he kind of mixed on like a Neve 88rs. So whenever I think of that modern pop type of sound, modern, know that this is kind of not like a Neve 1073. Where the Neve 1073, it was made in like back in the day, what could I dare say, the 70s? So it's a kind of a sound like that, where it's a little bit more retro. When I think of the 1970s, I think of the Neve, that retro sound. But then you have the Neve 88rs, which came out in the 90s, which was kind of like Neve's response to SSL, because SSL started tearing up the game. Everybody started messing with their channel script, so Neve had to give a response. They had to clap back, and they made the Neve 88rs, which is super, super beautiful. I love to track with this as well, pushing that mic pre. This one is more like modern but smooth, versus where the API is modern but aggressive. You know what I mean? So let's look at how I like to use something like this really quickly. A great thing as well is understanding the topology. The API has a VCA compressor, but the Neve 88rs also has a VCA compressor as well. Interestingly, because on those old throwback Neve consoles, you had like the 2254, you had the 33609, which is like diode bridge, but this one is actually VCA type of compression. So that means that VCA is a little bit more aggressive, it's a little more snap, crackle, and pop Rice Krispies type of compression. Okay, so let's look at this. Just the EQ is very, very, very musical. I understand that the filter for this one has a 12 dB octave as well, so a little bit, on the vibing side. That plays into a reason why it sounds so smooth as hell.
Yeah, know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town. Rockin' all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town. Rockin' all designer down.
she go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around, know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't have a lot of dough, but I had a lot of doubt. One thing about niggas accounts, you can never count them out.
They say we the hottest.
Bounce, told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town, rockin' all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town, rockin' all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard of me through word of.
So the word that comes to this when I use it is smooth. So I already keep this stuff in my head. If I want aggressiveness, I might go to API or SSL. If I want smooth, I might go to Neve 88rs. So sometimes maybe, write down what these plugins mean to you. And maybe when you're mixing, you say, hey, I want this to sound angry. I want this to sound like it's pissed, it's having a bad day. Let me pull out the API and distort it. you know, oh, I want this to sound like it has swag, like it's got personality, it's got charisma, it's a smooth player pimp. Okay, let me pick the 88rs because I know that not only just the compression, but also the EQ and the preamp as well, all together is helping me paint this type of picture. You feel me? So it makes it easier for you to work rather than you be like, oh, well, real quick, let me pick one of my plugins. You feel me? It makes it way easier for you to work rather than for you to try to do dumb shit like that. Like you trying to pick through all these goddamn plugins you got. What's wrong with you? Okay. Last thing we have the SSL, which SSL is pretty dope. I feel like the UAD version is a little too aggressive. I much rather use the SSL Legacy version if I did have to use one, or the Waves one, because this one is very, very aggressive. I much rather use this like on a rap, a kick, or a clap or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty good for vocals too. People use it for vocals too, you know? So that's the good thing about the SSL. The preamp is just so dirty. Like if you want that dirty ass rap sound, like yo, you take that mic pre, you push it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. You could even hit the pad, which I didn't talk about, but sometimes you can hit the pad just to drive it all the way up to 40 and 50 and, you know, all that stuff you want to. But yeah, this one is very, very dirty, very dirty. And the VCA compression, you know, has a hard knee as well. Contrasting from the API that lets me pick between hard knee and soft knee. Oh, you see, these are the type of things you gotta pay attention to. You know what I mean? Then the gate section, of course, like I said, I always love using the gate, but this one takes it to a different level because you get to pick 3 different types of gates. So if you're going for that gated type of, you know, the rapper start and stop and float, maybe you want to use the SSL E-Channel. And then of course the EQ, we have 2 different types of EQ. Kind of reminds me of the API just a little bit, but it's only for like the bell, you know, the bottom, the lower end, versus where the API gives you the full spectrum of a whole different EQ. So yeah, let's listen to how I like to use this with and without. I usually love to go back and forth, do that little juggling. That little juggling thing, you know, like how you at a circus and motherfuckers start juggling. Like as an engineer, I like to start juggling the lead vocal between the gate as well as the compression.
Town, rockin' all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town. Rockin' all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that I ain't fucking around. Know that I ain't fucking around. Back when I ain't had no money, I remember I was down. I ain't have a lot of dough, but I had a lot of doubt. One thing about these accounts, you could never count them out.
They say we the hottest, coming out from down south. I'm on SSC, got me jumping in the crowd. Never thought that I would be here, but I got here somehow. On a real
town, rockin' all designer down. Know that shit don't ever bounce. Told your bitch to make it bounce. Take a trip way out of town. Rockin' all designer down.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the wood. She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route.
Know that.
Bruh, I know you hear that when he says call and pound, like those transients on that word, that gate and that compressor juggling. I know you hear that. I know you hear that. If you don't hear that, keep working. Keep trying to get better at making music. Because man, that's the type of stuff that makes a difference for me. Call, pound. Like you just hear just a 1 to 2% more impact in his vocal, bruh. Like just listen.
She go really by his numbers, yeah, he really make it count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the route. Heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods, she with me through all the count. I ain't seen they ass before, heard him meet through word of mouth. I remember I was hustling, get a call and flip a pound. Your bitch with me in the woods.
Like, it's just something about that, like the way, like it just, it kind of sounds like somebody who ready to snap and just jump at you a little bit. You know, it makes the words pop out just a little bit more. It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like I don't put the words on the trampoline. It makes it feel like I don't put the words on the slingshot. Pull it back, pop, put it pop. You know, like it just makes it sound more explosive, more dynamite. Just something so simple like a gate. And that's your responsibility as an engineer. You got to make that shit seem believable. Flip a call and flip a pound. Like now people will really believe that because they're like, ooh, God damn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really starts to poke them in their chest. Like, I know you hear it. I know you hear it. Something as simple as a gate like that. But yeah, and it's pretty cool because you can start to overload the electronics or something like the SSL E. But yeah, the EQ pretty musical. I love the notch out like a honky frequency, always with the blue bell, and understanding the dB octave. Like it's 18. It's like the most aggressive one. So what I always do is I like to use the low shelf to boost. Like I like to do like a Pultec type of boost cut in the same ballpark type of situation. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's pretty much just making the vocal still have body, but I'm shifting up like the low mid a little bit higher. You see, I'm cutting off 70, but then I'm boosting at like 110. So it's very musical in a way where the vocals still have body, but you know, they still have body, but it's just not that low type of body, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video that I have for here today. I hope you guys did enjoy this one. You know, a lot, you know, just going back and forth. Sometimes I might even bypass the channel strips in and out, but the video has already been long enough. I'll probably do that another day. Just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you do want to see me do another video where I go back and forth between all those channel scripts and talk even more about the compare and contrast. Let me say one thing really quickly as well. You know, with the SSL it has an automatic makeup gain. With the SSL it has an automatic makeup gain versus where like the Neve 88rs you got to do a manual makeup gain. You know what I mean? So it's a situation like that too. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate you guys now. Peace.